Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cherry and Timber Talk. And it's a little late in the day, but never too late to wish everybody a very happy New Year, happy 2022. And once again, like we started last year, hoping that the world is a little less crazier again this year. And we're hoping that we are getting some more cricketing action as well as people getting to travel as well as live a normal life. So welcome back to all our crew members out here who have been itching to come on the show for a long, long time. It's been a while since we have connected, but then this topic is such that it's hard to kind of stop talking about. There's so much of action that happened in 2021 with regards to Indian Test cricket, and I think it was kind of needed that we did a show on this, and we kind of spoke about all the magical moments for us as Indian cricket fans. Before we come to everybody out here, I think I'll just acknowledge a few of our listeners as well as viewers who have commented on social media. So I just wanted to pull up those. These are some of the comments which we received in terms of magical moments in 2021 from an Indian Test cricket perspective. Ramakrishna Iyer, Washington's on the 6th of Cummins. Absolutely agree. That was totally magical. If you were watching it live, it was unbelievable the way he played that shot and the way it kind of landed in the stands. Bhash, Bumrah's 6 over spell that in that oval pitch on that oval pitch, which was as flat as they come. Absolutely, I agree. That's something to talk about, and we'll talk about Indian bowling overall as well. Sumed Naik saying watching Pujara and Pant together will be one of my best Test cricket memories. Absolutely right. Tushar mentioned about the Shami and Bumrah partnership, and also included Shardul's 57 in the oval, which is definitely something that we're going to talk about today. Kiran mentioning that overall Rishabh Pant has been the star of 2021. Look at the 34 and 34 balls 2 days back, which is we posted this last week. It was really crucial. Wicket keeping skills absolutely have gone up tremendously and improved for sure. And signing off with Deepesh, who says that fairy tale script for Indian cricket side. And I think yes, Axar Patel is somebody who kind of who has done a really, really good job in 2021. We kind of miss talking about him too much because it was home conditions. And, we generally tend to kind of look at away performances only and try to, we kind of miss the home performances. So, yeah, good on him to bring that point out. And welcome back to Mahesh, Devendra, Nishad, and Yogi. So, guys, the floor is ours. And I'll be trying my best to kind of keep it within the time frame because there's lots to talk about. But then let's start off with Mahesh today. Mahesh, what are your two key moments or the two most memorable moments for 2021?
Both my moments are brilliant partnership between the Indian batsmen. I think the 2021 series down under, I think to me has been one of the best series in about 20 years. Maybe the last time we really played well was in 2000, 2001 when Steve Waug's team came here and Ganguly and the team defeated them. But this was in their conditions. And as we all know, we had a depleted side. We lost Virat Kohli after the first test match. He went back home. From third test match onwards, our injury list was much, much long than we had expected. Yep. So, to me, the third test match at Sydney, the partnership between Ashwin and Vihari needs a special mention. While we all said that India escaped with a draw, I would like to disagree on that because we batted 40 overs. It was not that we scraped through. 40 overs, we scored 60 runs only because Vihari had a bad hamstring, so he couldn't run. So if it was normal conditions, I have every reason to believe that we could have chased, because at the final stages we needed about 70 odd runs and we would have won the match. So in 40 overs to score 130 runs was not difficult at all. And look at the grit. Look at the grit and determination of these two. I mean, Ashwin got a lot of blows on his body, but he did not go back. He stood there, he fought. Vihari was told by his team members that if he can't stand out there, he can come back. The problem was the next batsman, that was Ravindra Jadeja, he had a broken thumb as well. So the injury list was so much, and then we had only Siraj and Navdeep Saini. So, but they batted the entire session from tea. I mean, a little before tea they came and they batted the entire session. To me, that was great, because what it did was that we all knew after we defeated Australia in Melbourne, they would come very hard at us. And they did come, right? They came very hard at us. But these two ensured that we went to Gaba 1-all. and then we know what happened there, right? So to me, that is this partnership requires a special mention, and it started 2021 started on an extremely good note for India.
Absolutely, Mahesh. And the setup for GABA happened in Sydney, and that was something which kind of would be in all our history books forever. In terms of how it kind of unfolded from Sydney. See you at the GABA mate, and then what happened in GABA. So I think I'll not go too deep into GABA because Devendra has a lot to talk about that afterwards. But yeah, your next moment, please.
My second one, like what you said, is from GABA. And this was a brilliant partnership between two very young players, Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar. Remember when they came to bat, India were not in a good position. They were 186 for six, and they were chasing. They were chasing Australia's score of about 370 in the first innings. So, if a wicket would have fallen then, and if Australia had a substantial lead of probably 150 runs, then India would have been really behind the game, right? But these two not only batted out the Australian attack, but they also both of them scored half centuries, which was very, very important and took the score very close to Australia. I mean, finally, the first innings lead was about 30 runs, which was not too much of a problem. Of course, there is no denying the fact that Rishabh Pant had a brilliant series, okay, both at Sydney as well as in Gabba, and we need to give him a lot of credit for that victory. But it was set up beautifully by these two players. And I think, look at the experience. Shardul Thakur had one test match experience, and Washington Sundar was making his debut. And imagine, look at that side. They don't have a very good bowling side, but with whatever resources we were able to defeat Australia. A lot of credit should go to the captaincy as well as the team management, because if not for that, see, when the situation is bad, the captain has to lead from front. So whatever, he might not have scored the runs that was required, but he would have been able to keep the dressing room nice and calm. So a
Yep.
lot of credit should go to Rahane, and a lot of credit should go to Ravi Shastri. To me, these two performances by the Indian players, top draw.
Absolutely. And I think it's all about making the best use of whatever resources you had on offer. And I think they did that, tremendously well for sure. All right. Thanks, Mahesh. Devendra, floor is all yours.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to continue from where Mahesh left off. The last day at Brisbane, the GABA, chasing 328, and the start that was provided by Shubman Gill, and then Cheteshwar Pujara taking blow after blow after blow on his body,
Yes.
absolutely gallant, and then that unbelievable innings by Rishabh Pant, and
Yeah.
it was just after all that had happened, 36 all out. It was a very emotional moment, I'm sure, for many people, and particularly for someone of my generation. If you had told me in the 1990s, when we were everybody's favorite whipping boys abroad, that a day would come when India would win not one but two consecutive series in Australia, I would have laughed and laughed.
No
I would have
chance
never
at all.
believed it. No chance. But it was just unbelievable what happened at the Gabba on the last day, going for the runs, and then Washington Sundar playing a fantastic cameo and
Yep.
chipping in. It was just unbelievable whatever went and whatever happened, and to win that series after the catastrophe in the first test was a great achievement, and it just showed that the team was fearless, uh, capable of anything, and it
Yep.
also underscored the bench strength of Indian cricket.
Yep.
And being somebody who was a part of the BCCI, who worked for the BCCI in the phase from 2008 to 2013, especially, where I was a first-hand witness to a lot of initiatives that were taken, especially at the grassroots level.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was that victory in Australia was, in a way, the culmination of all that happened, because a conscious decision was taken to tell each and every state association to beef up their infrastructure, create
Yep.
an international standard ground, then create a first class cricket ground, then have all the amenities, hire professionals as part of the support staff,
Yep.
build academies. Then the A team concept. I don't think uh, any other A side in the world played as much cricket as India A did from 2010 onwards. So I
Correct.
think all that, and of course, then the IPL, the influence of the IPL can never be ignored. IPL
Yep.
had a big part to play, because nowadays when players come onto the international stage, they are not overawed. They have been
Yep.
there, done that. they're ready for the for the fight. So I
Correct.
think that victory in Australia marked the culmination of all these things. So that is why Gabba
Yeah.
last day will be very special for me.
So
And
to just put things in perspective, Devendra, since you pointed that out, being in the 90s, we could never imagine, even now, if you see, right, look at the Ashes, what's happening out there, right? Look at the last two Ashes down under. Look at how New Zealand played in their previous series, the World Test champions, right? So, I mean, it's very apparent that winning in Australia is a very, very big deal. It's not
of
easy
course,
at all. It's like equivalent to winning a series in India, right? So it's no mean feat at all. And doing it twice, like you said, it's like a tremendous achievement.
and
So, I
and
mean,
another thing is that we Indians are traditionally very apologetic about our good
home,
Correct.
performances.
especially at
So
home.
when we won in Australia in 1819, oh, what is the big deal? Steve Smith is not there, David Warner is not there, and then you had a second so-called second string or third string Indian team beating a set that had both Steve Smith and Warner. So that made
Exactly.
it very special, very special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So your second instance, Devendra.
Second instance, a classic case of better late than never. Rohit Sharma's second inning century at the Oval. I think
Hmm.
all those who watched him in the 2007 2020 World Cup, and
Yes.
also later on in the, I think it was the first final of the best of three finals in Australia a few months later.
Yep.
He was part of that match winning partnership with Sachin. I think all
Yep.
those who saw him would have felt that, oh, you know, it's like a great future lies ahead. But then
Yep.
someone who was not even in that Indian team, someone who was India's under 19 captain at that time, pipped him, went
Yep.
ahead of him in the pecking order. Obviously, Rohit had only himself to blame. He missed out on selection in the 2011 World Cup, and he's gone
Correct.
on record to say that really changed him. That was a big blow to
Yep.
him. So I
Yep.
think finally in 2021 we saw what Rohit Sharma was capable of. He had played a
Correct.
couple of good innings in test matches earlier. He scored a very good 83 at Lords, in fact, earlier in the series. But the Oval 100, I think it marked the coming of age of Rohit Sharma as an overseas batsman in Test cricket. We all know what he can do in the shorter forms, but
Yep.
Rohit, I think, finally he's playing to his potential and he's showing us what he's capable of doing. So that
Yeah.
was a very special moment for me. And again, having seen and followed Rohit from his under 19 days from 2004-5, I have been
Yep.
following him. So it felt great, that
Yeah.
he's finally there where he belongs.
I
So
think
yeah, those two.
even this wasn't easy, Devendra, right? This year as I mean last year as well, because he was getting good starts, he was looking
Yes,
$1 million, and he was still getting out, in before getting to a 50 or even before getting to 100 all the time, right? So there
exactly,
was some bit of
exactly.
a lapse in concentration. He was a compulsive puller of the ball, wherein he used to get caught in the deep a lot of times. So that also changed by him kind of curbing his natural instincts and kind of fighting it out, especially in English conditions. That was
Of
really
course, of
apparent to
course.
see in, at the Oval as well. So I think
And
that
I
was
think it was a master
brilliant to
stroke to
watch.
get him to open the innings, I think, because
Correct.
he just took to it like a fish to
Yeah.
water, literally.
And
So
honestly,
in a way, it
a
was
lot of people did not,
it was
approve
like
of that.
Sehwag all over
Yeah,
again. I mean, not on that
exactly.
scale, but it was
Yeah.
Sehwag all over again.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
it's as if he's opened all his life.
Yeah. Correct. Exactly. All right. Thanks for that, Devendra. Nishad, coming to you. What's your two magical moments from 2021?
Okay, so the first one for me would be Shardul Thakur's half century at the Oval. Okay, and I know you've written Shardul Beefy Thakur, but as Ashwin also said, it's Shardulkar just by the kind of shots that he plays and the way
Absolutely.
he hit Mitchell Stark on the rise at Brisbane, and the way he just clobbered the England bowling attack on that day. Now consider this. Okay, let's just have some perspective about that knock. Okay, he walked in at number 8, and India were 117 for 6. And India then
Yep.
ultimately were bowled out for 191, and he scored 57 of 36 balls. That's okay,
Correct.
57 of 36 balls, all right. But there were straight drives, pulls, there were lofted shots down the ground, there was a Hoiko mid wicket. Everything that you wanted to see was there in that knock. And okay, consider this, okay? Who's got the fastest Test 50 for India? For years, it is Kapil Dev, who got it off 30 balls. It was at Karachi. The second fastest is Shardul Thakur,
Shardul Thakur.
21 balls. And imagine this. Virender Sehwag's fastest Test 50 is slower than Shardul Thakur's fastest Test 50. Virender Sehwag's fastest Test 50 is 32 balls. And Shardul Thakur has placed himself very nicely between
In between the two of them.
who are quite possibly in the modern era India's best hitters in Test cricket.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about earlier era where there was, of course, Farooq Engineer and Mushtaq Ali. But here he's placed himself in between those two legends to become a name of his own. And about Shardul, it's just the spirit that comes along with his batting. It's like, he's the kind of guy that, when he walks in, maybe the opposition thinks he's not going to do much. And when you look up at the scoreboard, he's actually put his team in a very good position. So it's, I think, a lot of oppositions are guilty of underestimating his batting and his bowling. And he just uses it to his advantage. And that's his greatest strength, I think. His confidence in himself, it is his greatest strength, I think. And it is very inspirational also. And fortunately, I have had quite a few interactions with him, and he is a very, very confident man. He comes across as a very confident man, having come through the school ranks. And this guy has hit 6 sixes in an over in school cricket. Sachin has not. Sachin has dominated Mumbai school cricket. He's not done that. He's hit 6 sixes. So he's doing things that a lot of these greats have not. 7 wickets now. Look at that. 7 wickets. It's the best spell by an Asian fast bowler in South Africa.
South Africa.
Who are the great South Asian fast bowlers who've gone there? Wasim Akram, Waqar Younis, Jawakal Srinath, Zahir Khan, Chaminda Awaz. All Kapil Dev also has gone to South Africa. All these guys have gone to South Africa and they have not come close. Out of visiting pacemen in South Africa, another stat that I told my viewers on commentary, the top 16 spells by visiting bowlers to South Africa are all by Englishmen. At number 17, you've got a Shardul Thakur who's got India's flag over there with 7 for 61, going ahead of Mitchell Johnson with 7 for 68. So there is just everything, I mean, I think, Shardul is the kind of player who really is inspirational in a lot of ways in the way that he doesn't give up. And we've got to give him credit for that. And that oval knock, I think it in hindsight, it actually won India the game. Otherwise, India would have been bowled out for 120, 130, and it would have been very difficult for them to, even though they gave a 100-run lead, it would have been very difficult for them. And as if that wasn't enough, he came back in the second innings, and in the second innings, after Rohit Sharma scored that 100, he comes and gets 60 of 72 balls with 7 fours and 6. So, doff my hat to that.
And you know what, Nishad, talking about his bowling as well, it's so innocuous, right? In terms of how he has kind of transformed into a partnership breaker all the time. Even in that game at the Oval, if you remember the last day, Burns and Hamid even Burns and Hamid were like, they started off really well. He was the one to kind of get Rory Burns out first, and then Joe Root. In this series in South Africa, unfortunately, I don't have the stat to show you, but they had shown a really interesting stat wherein every time there's a partnership happening, the name is Shardul Thakur. He comes and breaks that partnership. Exactly.
He did. In fact, in the first innings back in Centurion, Quinton de Kock and Temba Bavuma were having a partnership. He broke that. So, he's been doing that. And again, in the first innings here, Keegan Peterson and Dean Elgar, he comes and he breaks the partnership, but he goes one better and gets 7 for 61. So I think, that's my first moment. The second one would be KL Rahul's 100 at Lords and his overall comeback as an opener. And it is because this guy wasn't even in the test squad for a while. He was there in Australia, was supposed to play in Brisbane, got injured, had to come back. And then, World Test Championship, Gill plays ahead of him. With all due respect to Gill's talent, I think he's phenomenally talented. But I think India are making a mistake that they did with VVS Lakshman in the 90s and converting him to an opener. I think he'll be a lot more effective down the order and he'll win you games there rather than just pushing him up front. Good aggressive mindset, but I think he'll dominate the middle overs very well. So with Rahul, I mean, Gill got injured after the World Test Championship final. Mayank is set to open with Rahul. Mayank gets injured. Luck gave him that opportunity. He capitalized it at Nottingham, got that 100 at Lords, and set up the win for India. And it's
Correct.
just the kind. I mean, we talk about a batsman's range. I think he's got that. He can score a 50 or 14 balls in the IPL, and he
Yep.
can grind out 100 of 250, 260 balls in Test cricket. So I think
Correct.
that tells you the range of a player as well, which right now I think he's really come of age, and we saw that at Centurion. So I think overall it's good to see. We know what KL Rahul can do, and it's
Yes.
amazing to see what he's doing in Centurion, keeping the bat very close to his body.
His body.
And
Yes.
I'm not a technical expert, but earlier in Australia when he struggled the last
Yeah.
tour, he was getting out to those coming in. He was edging those outside off stump. So
Yeah.
now it's good to see that he's really applied himself. And Brian Lara had said, you've got KL Rahul, who's your very talented batsman. You must back him. And if Brian Lara says, then definitely he's seen something. And I think it's good that he's living up to it.
Agreed. Yes, absolutely. So I think, yeah, completely agree, Nishad, and especially the last point that you made. I just love the way he has kind of shown that patience as an opener, and keeping the bat so close to his body, and he has nothing to do with the balls which are outside off stump, right? He knows exactly where his off stump is, and which one to kind of go after and which one to kind of leave as well. So I think that's phenomenal, and the way he has combined with Rohit Sharma as well. And it's a peculiar problem that we we are facing now. Earlier it used to be always the middle order which used to be delivering for India, and opening used to always be a concern. Especially Devendra will agree in the 90s, right, Mahesh, as well. So we always used to have a different set of openers for every damn series, right, or every test match as well. But
Every
now
test
I feel, yeah. So it used to be Mongia, Vikram Rathod.
Ajay Jadeja was
Yeah.
made to open in the West Indies, I remember.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Then
I mean, it was
opened, Vikram Rathod had a tough
Yeah.
time. You had
Well,
so many
Yeah.
other batsmen. Navjot Singh
Yeah.
Sidhu was around, but
Sidhu,
obviously he had a
yeah.
stop-start test career. So
Yeah.
there were
In
too
fact,
many.
we also opened with Yuvraj Singh in between somewhere, I believe,
One test match.
in
against
2000.
Australia at
Yeah,
Chennai.
against Australia.
One test match
Exactly
with
right.
Chennai. That was
Yeah.
because they wanted to get Yuvraj in, but
Into the mix.
later they
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So now the other problem is that the opening batsmen are kind of flourishing, and the middle order is kind of shaky nowadays, which is a very, very peculiar problem to have. I don't know. I mean, I could never imagine an Indian middle order struggling overseas, that too. After the openers have done such a tremendous job with the ball, with the bat. So yeah, so that's something which is strange. All right. Thanks, Nishad. I mean, yeah, always, what do you say? Always lovely to talk about Shardul Thakur, because, he's the talk of the town nowadays. And yeah, it's so much of fun, watching him bat, bowl, and do everything that he does on the cricket field. Yogi, all yours, man. So what were your two favorite moments?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. We're talking about these moments, isn't it? And one player like Lord Shardulkar, who's surprised us on many occasions, is Rishabh Pant. And
Yeah.
right now he might divide the house because of
Yep.
the exploits or the lack of them, right? And I think the sheer moment of magic for me was that reverse scoop of James Anderson. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
A new
Yeah.
ball, James Anderson coming into bowl, sort of round the wicket from James Anderson's perspective, but into Rishabh Pant, and then what does he do? He flicks it over, not gully or not point, but actually over the head of slips, and then the look on the face of Ben Stokes, and then Joe Root, obviously two Puritans of Test cricket, kind of wondering as to what has exactly happened and whom did he do just that? The man who's lauded Test cricket like anybody's business, and obviously James Anderson also had just the look of awe and shrug of shoulders, like there's only one person who could have done that. I mean, looking at that shot, you almost wondered if this was a shot straight out of a South Indian movie, because it doesn't make sense. It defies everything that you would think of as logic. Something that would have made Rajnikant proud for the sheer audacity of it. But I think that is when you say, well, these sportsmen who play international cricket, they are blessed with rarefied talent, and that probably shot underlined that you can practice hours and hours to play your traditional shots and all of that, but to pull off something like that in that moment, who would have even imagined something like that was possible? And I was almost thinking that with AB de Villiers, we've seen everything that audacious is possible.
Yeah.
Doing that a lot in T20 cricket and also in ODIs. But this
Yes.
shot probably was the pinnacle of that. So I
Mm.
think, just from the perspective of sheer sporting magic or blessed talent, probably that moment stood out. Obviously, he was playing, he was well set and all of that, but you never imagine something like that happening to a bowler of James Anderson's caliber,
Yeah.
especially against
Correct.
a new ball where he can actually do things, right? So
Correct.
that moment I think stood out for me. Obviously, it
And
spoke
I
a
think,
lot about.
I mean, before we come to the next moment, Yogi, I think, there was another shot that he played at the Gabba, if you remember, of
Yes,
Nathan Lyon. Remember,
yes.
there
I was
was
actually
nobody
coming
on
to
the
that.
onside. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, I
There
was
was nobody
actually
on the
coming to.
onside and he kind of scooped it. Yeah, go ahead, talk about it.
So that shot, but then I think even in that inning, there would have been a shot wherein he was actually coming down the track, was beaten by the turn because the ball hit the crack, and then thankfully our dear friend, see you at the Gabba mate guy, he couldn't clean up the job. And so what
Yeah.
happens the next ball then? This guy
Yeah.
actually jumps down the track again and then hoists Nathan Lyon over long on. And that tells you the absolute courage, the absolute talent. But then there's a
Yeah.
flip side to this absolute courage and absolute talent that we've seen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes off as a tactical masterstroke or even a way of saying, I'm going to throw the bowler off his line, off his length, and kind of, resurrect that advantage from him. And when it doesn't quite come off, not
Yeah.
applied with the right moment, it means the team might actually lose the test match as we did
Hmm.
recently. And I think, that's the fine balance between you're blessed with magic, but when do you really apply the magic? And I think, that's
Yeah.
going to be a task in hand of Rahul Dravid to
Yeah.
kind of, manage that with Rishabh.
Yeah, I kind of feel for Rahul Dravid to manage Rishabh Pant in that aspect. I think it's hard to be a coach or even a teammate standing on the opposite end when he's batting because he defies logic and throws everything out of the box. So I mean, you said it right. There's a thin line between audacity and stupidity, and sometimes it looks stupid, sometimes it looks audacious. So where do you define that line? It's extremely difficult to say because
But
when it
he's so
comes off, yeah, yeah.
But he's so young and he's achieved so much. So there's always
Yeah,
room to believe that, he can
yeah,
also learn and change his game. I mean, look, I think
yeah,
when Sachin was young, a lot of times he left people wanting for more in terms of
yeah,
did he really have to play that shot? It happened. But I
yeah,
think, with time he learned, right? So
yeah,
so I do believe that, people like Rishabh Pant can also learn because look, we
yeah,
just spoke about India's current opening riches. We didn't have two, forget, we didn't have one. Now we have
yeah,
four, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
now I think Rishabh Pant would soon realize that the riches of Indian cricket are such that
Hmm.
if he keeps becoming profligate and sort of keeps squandering his opportunities, there would be
Yep,
somebody else who might put his hand up and say, you know what, I've got
yes,
gloves, I've got bat, and I can do
yep,
just a good job.
yep.
Correct.
I
I
think
think
Sheldon Jackson and all these guys are knocking the doors. Yeah, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Shrikar Bharat, Ishan Kishan
Yep,
is around.
yep,
You've got so many other options. Riddhiman Saha maybe
yep,
37, but he's still as fit as
Yeah.
anyone in his 20s. So
yes,
there are options. You've got two
And
youngsters and a veteran who's just fantastic with the gloves.
correct,
And
correct,
and this test
absolutely.
has told you another thing that you need dogged determination to do well in test matches. And Wriddhiman Saha has actually shown us that. I mean, Dean Elgar won this test match for South Africa not because of flashy talent or anything, right? He just
Yeah,
said, "I'm going to stand here between you and the result you want," and he got the match
yeah,
his way, right? I mean,
yeah,
India could have scored another 50 or 70 runs if Rishabh would have done probably just that job. And I'm sure, I think,
yeah,
what they saw in this test match is actually good because it will tell them in future 240 in fourth innings is not a foregone conclusion. So you always
correct.
need that extra padding because there could always be a guy who can do a Rahul
Yes,
Dravid and VVS Lakshman or just simply Dean Elgar.
yep, absolutely. Well said. Agreed. Yep. I think if India could score, 330 odd at the Gabba, right, and win the games, obviously anybody else could also do it. So that's something which is seen in Test cricket. It's not like the old Test cricket anymore, wherein
Yeah.
scores of 200 odd are kind of not chaseable in the fourth innings. And definitely, I think teams are changing their approach, their style, the way they are playing because of, say, even T20 cricket. So now, batsmen are much more fearless. It works both ways. Sometimes it looks stupid, like you said, but then again, when it works, right? So you could win games for your team as well.
And
So I think the way
I
they
think
started off, Yogi, as well, that also set the tone for South Africa. The way
correct.
Markram and, I'm sorry, I forgot the other opener's name, how they started
Dean
off.
Elgar, Markram and Elgar, yeah.
Sorry, Dean Elgar. Sorry, Elgar. Sorry, I was confused with Peterson. Yeah, sorry.
But who
So,
broke
yeah.
that partnership as well?
Nishad is all over Shardul Thakur today.
I mean,
Yeah,
look. The other thing is how South Africa actually learned from India's approach in this same match, and they applied it
yeah,
so quickly. They learned from
correct.
Pujara and Rahane that there was no point trying to duck and trying to defend and trying to save and sway away
Correct.
from the line. They said we'll take it head
Yep.
on. If we get 4 or 5
Yes.
runs in an over, great stuff. And they
Yep.
just started putting the pressure back on India.
Correct. Agreed. Absolutely.
There you go.
All right. So I think I just have two instances to talk about. One which
There was one
really
that I
got.
wanted to talk about more.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. I think I
Yogi has
got.
one more. Yes.
Yogi, go ahead.
So
Ah,
I think
I was
I
caught in
think
the flow.
is the perfect 10 moment. I know he didn't quite do it for India or something, but I thought
Yeah.
this was the moment of such special magic,
It's
and
okay,
because it
Yogi. It was
happened
by an
against
Indian. It was by an
yeah,
Indian,
I mean,
anyways.
if not if not by an Indian player, but by somebody of Indian origin, so I think a
Yeah.
special shout out for Axar Patel for that 10 for to play for New Zealand,
Yeah.
to come to India, to achieve that
Yeah.
feat in Mumbai takes something
Yeah.
really special. I mean, I'm sure like everybody in New Zealand, every Indian was probably overjoyed that day that that feat could actually happen. I mean, against a few
Yes.
other bowlers, I know that people would have prayed that don't give him the 10. But when it started coming together for Ajas, people might have said, well, why not? So ultimately, you'd think that nice guys also deserve that reward. So it was
Mm.
fantastic to see that. And he didn't just end up with 10 in the match. He actually ended up with the best figures for a bowler in India. So getting 14 wickets
Correct.
and 17 of the Indian wickets actually went to spinners that day. But a
And not being the man
special
of the
thing.
match as well, Yogi. And
Yeah,
not being
and
the
not
man of
being
the
the
match.
man of the match to actually end up on losing side, well, that tells you how difficult it is for visiting sides in India. That also tells you
Correct.
how good a year Indian cricket had, which is exactly what we are
Yeah.
talking about today.
And how
So
good
that
Mayank
special
Agarwal was in that game, actually.
150,
Yep.
yeah, head
150
and
on that
shoulders
track.
above. So
Exactly.
150 out of 325 in that innings, right? So I think special application there again. But just feel great for Ajas and everybody in his
Yeah.
family actually, because they traveled from Mumbai to New Zealand, created a new life there. Dad wanted to make sure that the son got education while he was also pursuing sports. So this guy's also a MBA, I believe, in marketing management and things like that. And only when he started actually progressing, they said, you know what, okay, we might as well kind of support him in his sporting sojourn as such. His uncle has a cricket team of his own in New Zealand, so a really nice environment through which he's come. But again, for somebody who plays for New Zealand, the slight downside is that there are only so many million people in that country who will actually enjoy and cherish. So you won't become an instant celebrity as you would have
Mm.
probably become in India. But I'm sure he's
Yeah.
he's a celebrity already in Mumbai, and many Indians already follow him and love him.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was a nice backstory, Yogi. I mean, good to hear
Yeah.
that as well. Okay, all right. Just couple of instances. I'll quickly summarize mine. One was, I think I was blown away by the tactical genius of our bowling department down under. Obviously this was a culmination of a lot of planning on the, on account of the coaching staff and the support staff as well, in terms of how they started thinking about how to trap these Australian batsmen, and kind
Mm.
of cut off one entire side from their batting, kind of scorecard and stuff. So, just keep bowling straight to them, set a leg side trap kind of a field. And, the way they got Smith, the way they got Labuschagne, caught down the leg side. And Smith was also, bowled around it like for the first time. That's, I've never seen that happen as well. The way he got out to Bumrah, I think it was in Sydney, clipping the leg stump. So I think that was a bit of a, a magical moment for me. The way they planned it and the way they executed it as well. I think that was the most important factor. I think I heard Bharat Arun speak, with Ashwin, the way even Mohammad Siraj, who was a debutant in that series, he also came into the scene and quickly adapted and understood the line that he had to bowl, and he was, praising him a lot in terms of how he adapted and knew that this is the job he had to do. And for a debutant to come in and do that, pinpoint accuracy, the way he bowled in Melbourne as well as in Sydney and Gabba. And Gabba, you got the fifer as well. So that was something, a kind of magical moment for me. And I think we all wanted to speak about Indian bowling on a whole as well, how they've carried this team, even making up for the middle order collapses that we have had and still winning games for us, the way Bumrah bowled at the Oval as well, right? So that was also a magical moment for me as well. So I think this was something which was worth mentioning. The second thing which I wanted to talk about is obviously completely unexpected. I think, unfortunately, I could not watch this live. I was on field doing some other work that day, but I was following the score on my mobile, and it was totally unbelievable. And we were also chatting on WhatsApp, I believe, in our group that day. And the way it all turned out, the way this partnership panned out, I think completely unexpected, completely unbelievable. And I wish I could watch it live. And I wish something like this happens time and again for us, because we have been at the receiving end of tail-enders and lower order batsmen for the last I don't know how many years, and after getting the first 4 or 5 wickets, we always struggle with finishing off the tail. And I think this is something which was heartening to see. And I think this was once again, like Devendra and Mahesh mentioned about the Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar partnership, which set up the game. I think this probably set up the game at Lords as well. If this did not happen, I'm sure England would have come down and chased down the score. So this was kind of a magical moment for me as well. So yeah, I'll probably sign off by saying that batting and bowling, our bowlers kind of made us proud in 2021. So,
absolutely.
What was the fun thing about that batting masterclass? When Shami actually reached his 50 and he had to have a raise his bat, he was so shy doing it.
Yeah. That smile was something else, right?
I've never practiced for this. How do they really do it?
Yeah, but good thing was the entire team came to the long room to receive them when they came back into the pavilion.
Correct.
Yeah, again, given the bowlers that we have, the fast bowlers, again, for someone who has been following Indian cricket since the early 80s, this is unreal, because we never could have imagined this.
Yeah,
there was Kapil, there was Chetan Sharma, Roger Binney. They had their moments of glory. Later years, you had Javagal Srinath, fine. Venkatesh Prasad doing well in South Africa and England. Javagal Srinath taking 13 wickets in a test match against Pakistan, which we eventually lost. That's a different issue. But this is amazing, to have so many bowlers. I mean, again, reminds you of the West Indies, hunting in packs, all those cliches that writers of the 70s and 80s used with regard to the West Indies. I could never have imagined that a day will come and they will use them for Indian bowlers.
Exactly.
Hunting in packs.
Also, James Anderson sort of at Lords in that game complaining about the short bowling and then losing his way when he was batting.
So this was like the World Championship of Cricket final in 1985, where Javed Miandad complained to Mr. Gavaskar that Sadanand Vishwanath was sledging him from behind the wicket, and Mr. Gavaskar could not believe his ears. He asked Javed Miandad to repeat what he had said, and Miandad actually did not catch the sarcasm and he repeated the complaint. कि इंसान खेल रहे हैं, जानवर नहीं खेल रहे हैं, इसको समझा. And Javed Miandad making that complaint was so. I think Anderson, it was very similar to what had happened in '85.
Oh my God! Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think that over from Bumrah to Anderson, I don't know. It's hard to comprehend in terms of what happened in that over. All those no balls, whether it was allegedly deliberate or not, I don't want to comment on that. But then it was fun watching from an Indian fan's perspective, not from an English fan's perspective, or if you were James Anderson facing
I think a lot because we have now a bowling attack that hunts in packs. Again, I'm using that cliche. Maybe if that is the reason why this has happened, I'm not sure whether it is because we have a bowler as chairman of selectors or probably India's best captain, who is now the president of the BCCI. But again, giving the vice captaincy. It may be a temporary appointment, but
Oh, yes.
Jasprit Bumrah
Yeah.
becoming the ODI vice captain, I think it's a great move. He has
Yep.
shown himself to be a cerebral cricketer. I think
Yes.
and it's a step in the right direction, because for years I have often wondered that
Yep.
you need bowlers to win test matches. You need 20 wickets. So
Correct.
why are they always passed over for the captaincy? I mean, I think it's quite unbelievable that somebody like Richard Hadley, for example, or Muthaiya Muralidharan,
Yep.
they were never vice captain, if memory serves me right. Forget being
No.
captain. And I've always wondered why this was the case. Why is it all
Yep.
assumed that batsmen are they are the they know
Yep.
everything about the game? Because a
Yeah, I
bowler
think
will understand what works for bowlers better, I feel.
I think
So I think
Kumble was the last
that's
bowling
the right
captain
thing.
that we had, right, Devendra? Anil Kumble was the
I
last
think
bowling
Mahesh did point out that Kumble was technically an all-rounder because he has a test century to his name.
captain. Yeah, and I think after Kapil Dev, probably this is the first time a fast bowler has been given that kind of even vice captaincy kind of responsibility, right? I don't think
Yes,
we
yes.
ever had a fast bowler who's been looked upon
Srinath
as a leadership
Prasad,
material.
no. Manoj
Yep.
Prabhakar, Chetan Sharma, no. So
Yep,
yeah.
absolutely.
I
And
I
I
think
think
Zaheer
Ashwin is
Khan
going
was
to.
unofficially the bowling captain, so
I
Who?
think
Zaheer was unofficially the bowling captain. Like he was given
Yeah,
the
Yeah, but that's all unofficial. This is like
yeah,
yeah.
official.
so Devendra, I think Ashwin is going to hear this segment with quite a lot of interest.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
always believed that Ashwin should have been elevated to a leadership role because, again,
correct.
Correct.
cerebral cricketer, a thinking
Yes.
cricketer. But he has been, till very recently, for whatever reason, I don't know, but he was not assured of a permanent spot in the 11. Why? That's one of the unexplained mysteries. A cricketer of his caliber, why he was not considered in the certainty in the playing 11, we don't know. But
Yep.
it's good that things are changing, and now I'm sure he's one of the first names that go down on the team sheet. But I may be
Yep.
speaking too soon. You never know what will happen at in the decider of the ongoing
At Cape
series
Town.
against South Africa. Yeah.
Mm.
Let's hope for the best.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, guys. Fun chatting as always, and so many magical moments and memories. And trust me, there were so many other instances which we wanted to talk about. But yeah, it's only this much time that we had today. But yeah, we'll keep talking about them, and hopefully, 2022 would be another blockbuster year for us, or even Test cricket in general, to witness some really really magical moments once again. So yeah, thanks, guys, and stay safe, stay healthy, and let's look forward to catching up once again. Take care. Bye bye.
Yes. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.